Alrighty.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you here today to Daytona Beach, Florida. Yes, just the same place we were at last night, but now we're going to be shaking things up a little bit. I have with me Dramora. Dramora, it's great to have you here. Make sure your audio is included for this broadcast.
Yes,
we're about to get
finally,
underway for a second. We're about to get underway for our second preseason race out of the two that we're going to have for IESC. A little bit more cars on track this time around, a little bit more in the DPi class, a little bit more in the LMP2 class, about the same in the GT class. But last time we were at Sonoma, this time we are at Daytona. In your own mind, in your own thoughts, what are the main differences you think we can see from 2 weeks ago compared to now?
Well, Daytona, the road course, and Sonoma are drastically different because whereas there's some moments in Sonoma where there is fast-paced moments, but here it is more like fast-paced all over. It's just
yeah, you make an excellent point. Yeah, no, you do make an excellent point. There's just a lot more speed that is taken here than anywhere else. It also means that traffic not going to be as much of an issue for the LMP2 or DPi class. They actually have the speed to just overtake GTs going down the main straights. Real quick, just like last time, we want to go ahead and set a timer. But of note, we're not setting 45-minute timer. We were informed wrong last week, and we deeply apologize for that. It is a 1-hour timer for this event. So, and that timer goes the moment the leaders hit the start-finish line. Also want to give shout-out, thank you to AK1975 for providing the Audi pace car for today's event. We do want to also say thanks to Audi and Quattro for their legacy in endurance racing in general. It is a shame that we don't really get an Audi representation in this series, sadly, but still, it's always great to see a legendary car manufacturer show up in some way or another. Okay, so this is how it's looking like right now. At the front, you have TMS Stingray on the pole for DPi. He's sharing the front row with RZM Arsenal. There's also Dino Prime 77 and Tire Barrier there as well. Then you get into the LMP2 class. In the LMP2 class, you have Mr. Sunshine, Larry B the G, LMR Critical. So a 3-car fight that's going to be going down in the DPi class. Then you get into the GT category. SRD Shredder, he told me he didn't have a whole lot of confidence coming into this event, but he's on the pole for the GT class. He's going to be starting with Ludicrous Speed. Ludicrous, another driver who talked to me and said he doesn't have confidence. The Ford GT strengths are not in straight lines. This track does not work well for him, but he's going to be starting near the front. They also have TFB Matter going to be there in the GT category, along with Prius Killer and Deed Speedman. So a little bit interesting because in the GT category, we don't have as many of the big name, big team tryhards that we typically see. It's a little bit more reserved affair in the GT category. The real hardcore fighting, I think, with the big names, we're going to be seeing that in the DPi and LMP2 category today.
Especially have an eye on, in the LMP2 side, Critical, who I believe recently did all 3 stints for SRL Sunshine League Bathurst 1000. So, have an eye on him.
Also, I just want to go ahead and say Stingray absolutely has a fantastic gold and white scheme. I absolutely love how that thing looks. It's very distinct. Also, we'll be running Daytona twice. There's this year, and then in about 2 weeks' time, I believe it's 2 weeks' time, in about 2 weeks' time, we'll be getting underway on the same layout, but will be a points-paying race, and that will be at night when they're running the full 90-minute races. But anyways, at fields, beginning to double up now, and again, make sure, mate, that you have your clock ready to go for 1 hour the moment the leader hits the start-finish line. There's normally about a 200-foot gap between the LMP2 category and then the GT category. Also, one other thing to note, LMP2s are significantly faster than the DPIs going through the infield. There is a possibility that we may see some of the LMP2 drivers trying to get through DPI cars just to use them as a pick, so that way other people in that category can't fight with them. So keep an eye on that, but we're preparing to get underway now. Stingray, Arsenal, leading the field to the green flag. And we are underway here. 1 hour of racing at Daytona, side by side between those DPIs going into the corner. Arsenal on the outside, though, struggling to keep the grip together. He is going to fall behind now. Go ahead, try a crossover, move to the inside, side by side through a little bit of that chicane. He's got the nose ahead, but he does not have the line of choice going into the first hairpin corner. Stingray puts that number 8 and that number 1 back in front. Arsenal now falls in line behind. Interestingly enough, it does not look like any of the LMP2s are trying to overtake the DPIs quite yet. The DPIs had just good enough of a run coming across the start-finish line that ended up not being an issue. Tire Barrier has fallen behind Dino Prime. The LMP2 category has already gone straight into single file. Farther back, though, look at this here in the GT category is TFB Matter, who has gone from the second row to jump up from the front. So Matter now leading in that Red Bull Corvette in the GT category with Dietz Speedman right behind him. And I have to wonder, I see that Ludacris has fallen to 10th, Shredder very near second to last in the GT category. Could there have been contact between those two that caused them to run wide going into one and open up the lead to Matter like this?
Yeah, meanwhile in the P2 class, we see LMR Critical has made it up to second place right now, and he is looking to challenge Mr. Sunshine here for the lead as he was on the inside, but Mr. Sunshine threw a block on the high side, making sure Critical does not get the lead.
All three of these drivers in the LMP2 category are running under the same team, so this is just a kind of interesting little inter-team fights. There are other LMP2 drivers within the series, but not a whole lot of people are really going hard on attendance right now in the preseason events. A lot of people are just going to hold back and wait until we get to the points main. Here comes Critical on the outside, and now he does that. He got a little bit sideways, and that let Larry B, the G, pull up right behind him. So nose to tail in the LMP2 category. This has gotten really interesting.
Yes.
All right,
Critical
right behind Sunshine right now. Again, from my experience at least, LMP2 cars, almost all the downforce are going to be stripped out of these machines around here. These cars have enough downforce naturally underbody. They also have the big enough wings that you don't really have to work a whole lot with downforce. Also, mechanically, these cars grip up very well, doubly helped by the fact that they're the lightest cars in the field. And you're seeing Critical, I think he has a better car than Sunshine right now, because with the draft in the infield, he sucks right up to Sunshine's rear bumper. The counterpart to that, though, is that it seems like Sunshine is either equal or just a little bit better than Critical going down the straightaways, because it seems to be a last-minute move, if any, that Critical needs to try and set up going into these hard braking zones on the oval.
Yes, as we can see, Sunshine got a little bit loose there. Critical going on the outside here.
All right, and that's going to cause a little bit of a double draft for Larry B to try and catch and try to suck up to the leaders on. But yeah, that outside line is just not working out quite as well for Critical as he wants it to. He's still committing to it, but I don't think he's going to be quite properly alongside by the time they enter the braking zone. And even if he is, he's going to have to lose a lot of time under braking, going a wider line around the track. He realizes that, he backs out early and he's going to try a crossover move on the exit, but Sunshine sees that, he immediately defends, cuts down in front of LMG. Now here comes that number 16 back around the outside, going into the hairpin. Sunshine's going to have a wide exit, Critical has a narrow exit, and Critical got it. Very well done. That was a move that was gradually set up piece by piece from the bus stop on the prior lap, and now Critical ahead of Sunshine.
Yes, Sunshine just made a mistake there coming out of the carousel, and that allowed Critical to capitalize and take the lead in P2.
All right, meanwhile in the DPI category, Arsenal, Stingray, 1-2 at the front. Now, interesting scenario here. These are supposed to be only Ford and Chevrolet. However, BMW has stepped in, and they are actually providing engine and tuning recommendation for TMS Stingray. That's why he has the BMW logo, but do not be confused. That is a Chevrolet engine in that machine, as the same as it is for RZM Arsenal, who is leading in the DPi category. 4 seconds over third place Dino Prime, and Dino Prime is kind of in a zone of his own right now. No one really around him. Tire Bear is about 250, 225 feet behind, but does not seem like he has the ability to run down that Chevrolet right now.
Yeah, I want to make a correction. Both, I believe, Arsenal and Stingray aren't in the Chevy. They're in the Ford because the Chevy has a more pointier nose than
You're
the
right.
Ford.
Now, you're right. Yep, I did make that mistake. I apologize for that. Yep, the top two are in Fords. Third and fourth are in Chevrolets. Stingray has pulled right up behind Arsenal and is giving Arsenal a real hard time right now.
Yeah, fourth is in a Ford as well and trying to work on... Dino Prime is the only Chevy in the field right now. Well, in terms of DP at least.
So the word I had been told is that the Ford does have a power handicap, but the Ford makes up for it with significantly better cornering ability compared to the Chevrolet, which, from what I've been told, is just faster in a straight line in general, and that seems to be about where its strength is, but its straight line speed is not to be mocked. Ooh, Arsenal and Stingray both had a really bad run, and Stingray's crossed over, and Stingray by Arsenal in the bus stop chicane. Outstanding move by his part. Arsenal went in really aggressive. Stingray went extremely conservative, but Arsenal was so aggressive he dropped the outside two tires going into the bus stop chicane, lost a bunch of speed, when that let Stingray, who was a lot more conservative on entry, just put the power down and straight line out of there so much quicker, and now the rolls at the front have been reversed. Stingray back in front, but Arsenal much more confident under braking, maybe too confident, but going into one, he's pulled up right behind Stingray. They're now nose to tail at the front of the DPi category, as Stingray trying to figure out how to properly defend against Arsenal. Arsenal will take a slightly wider line entering the first of the two hairpins in the infield. Stingray has the position, though.
Yes, like you said, Stingray has the lead off of a mistake from Arsenal, but Arsenal is looking to correct that and maybe regain the lead here. He is all over the back bumper of Stingray. Stingray's trying to pull away now.
Gap now opening up in Stingray's favor as Stingray came onto Speedway Turn 1 with more speed. Real quickly, want to go ahead and take a look at the GT category. Another lead change. Sadly, we've missed it, but Ludicrous Speed has now taken the lead in the GT category in the Ford GT. Very interesting scenario because, again, I said before and I'll say it again, this is probably the weakest track on the schedule for the Ford GT. The Ford GT does not have a whole lot of base power in that machine. It's very draggy, very downforce heavy, but also very draggy. We see a Ford GT leading here at Daytona. That means that, at least in my opinion, you should be a little bit concerned if you're in the GT category, because that means Ludicrous Speed could try and go for a third straight title, win the Ford GT in this category for IESC.
Yes, but he has, believe, Prius Killer hunting him down. He's in the Viper, in the red, white, and blue 76 Viper, trying to catch Ludicrous, hunt down Ludicrous right now, but gap has remained pretty much equal around the 100, between 100 and 200. Sometimes it was more than 200 feet.
Oh, that's weird. My thing hooked up. Alright. For a moment, it said that fewer people were in the server than actually are. I do apologize for that. That's why I was a little bit confused there.
Yeah, we do have...
has been our first DNF of the race
that.
thus far, though.
Yes, I was going to mention that Dean Speeman is no longer in the race, bound out due to mechanical issues. Hopefully, we'll see him at in the regular season race here,
and
coming up in 2 weeks.
Yeah. All right, I'm watching this battle for third right now, but coming into the party is Deed Speeman. Deed, go ahead, include your audio. DNF, early retirement in today's event. What happened?
Just lag, terrible lag. My Wi-Fi decided to shit itself at the beginning of the race, so I only got one lap in and started wrecking everyone. It seemed like from my point of view, and then out of the race I was. So just the lag incident is all.
Ugh.
Alright, it's
You
a
hate-
frustrating thing to see that. Do you think there's a possibility you'll be able to get that fixed and good to go once the points paying races come?
I hope so. I'm looking at getting a faster router soon, so hopefully things work out a little better. But I'm not too sure, to be honest. So.
Alright, well, I do want to say thanks for jumping in and at least trying to race. Thanks for talking with us. It is a shame to see you out this early.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Alright, Deed Speedman has a little bit of a good run at Daytona in the past in the DNS series. His first career win there came with NASCARs at the Daytona Road Course. His circuits kind of worked well for him in the past, but can't do anything if disconnecting happens. Tire barrier has crept up to right behind Dino Prime, but the big thing with the DPI category compared to the LMP2s, you have that high-speed bend in the infield that's right in between the two hairpin corners. Now, for the LMP2 category, it's flat out. You don't have to worry about in the slides. In the DPIs, it's a lot more iffy. You want to find that perfect balance between good downforce for the infield and not having so much downforce that you're killing your speed in the straights. So the big thing there is a really sensitive balancing issue. And even if you have a car that is good by itself through there, it is a one-lane section of track for the DPIs with how much heavier they are and how much faster they are entering that corner. Because of that, if you're in someone else's aerodynamic wake going in through the infield sector, it feels so much worse and so much harder.
Yeah, meanwhile, in the GT category, we got ourselves. Prius is caught up to Ludicrous as, and here comes the DP cars. They're coming into the picture here, but Prius Killer, before the DPs got involved, he caught up to Ludicrous speed and he was all over the back bumper of him, but because of the DPs coming through, that put him a few car lengths back. But he's looking to get back to the bumper. Ooh.
Viper versus Ford, and that Viper will have the straight line speed advantage, assuming they haven't kitted out so much downforce that they'll be down on power. So this could be a good shot for Prius to get a run into the bus stop chicane or maybe even turn 1.
Yeah, you might need to also include the BMW of Shredder because he is slowly but surely catching these guys now. He's pulled away from TFP Matter and he is catching these two. But I don't think he's got the straightaway speed as these two. He's got better cornering.
From what it looks like to me, it looks like in that Ford GT, they have tuned that thing out as far as they can for initial acceleration to try and compensate for their lack of speed, with the idea being that they get up to their top speed so much faster than everyone else that when everyone is hitting their terminal velocity, it's a little bit too late to really make anything work of it. It's a bold strategy. It's not one that I'm a big fan of, mainly because it's a lot harder to work with extra torque in those cars. But here's the thing, that Ford GT, it's a V6 with twin turbos. You don't have to worry too much about torque as we now see the rest of the DPI category coming through. That's Dino Prime, who goes around the outside of the Dodge. He's going to go around, well, he's actually still behind the Ford GT, so this actually puts a little bit of problem for Prius. Here comes Tire Barrier now. Contact with the tire barrier, and Ludicrous got ran off by Tire Barrier, and Tire goes off as well, and now here comes Shredder on Ludicrous, and that promotes the Viper into the lead for the GT category.
Yes, all because of a miscommunication from the Ford DP and the Ford GT, but here comes Ludicrous now. Ludicrous is going, Ludicrous on the inside.
It's gotten very interesting very quickly here. Prius on the inside going in to the merge to Speedway
Ludicrous.
Turn 1. Yeah, that Ford GT is going to fall right in line behind the Dodge Viper for the moment. That Ford GT seems to be relatively well kitted out, but here comes the BMW. He's got double the draft. He's faster than both of them. He's going to try and make a move potentially on Ludicrous going into the bus stop chicane. He looks to the inside, under braking. He lunges for it, but has to back out.
Yes, he had to back out, unfortunately, but I'm sure he'll be able to potentially catch him again. The Prius is pulling away now.
Yeah, this is going to have a significant effect. Ludicrous speed a little bit down on power in the oval section. This is going to be where it all is. He's going to be very upset with the DPI category going forward without a doubt. Ooh, Shredder botched the entry into the corner, and so did the Dodge. The Dodge and the BMW both botched the entry going into one. Here comes Ludicrous Speed going from defending against third to fighting for first. He's stuck on the outside against the Viper, but he has very confident in the car. Look how much confidence he has sending it around the outside through the hairpin. He's still got it. He's still going. They're going to be side by side in the GT category. One of them's going to have to back out here. Who's it going to be?
It will be Prius.
No one! Prius goes off wide. Here comes Shredder. He lunges to the inside. Now he takes the lead from the Ford GT. But now that Ford GT tries to cross over on the BMW. Nose to nose as they come on the run right before the corner to merge back onto the oval.
And ooh, he got him loose.
BMW really wide, having a lot of trouble, and the Ford GT puts the power down. He's just so much smoother. He's slower, but so much smoother. And you know what the old adage is? Slow is smooth and smooth is fast, and that seems to be what's keeping Ludicrous Speed properly fighting for his lead. But here comes the BMW with so much more speed. He goes high, goes low, he's on the inside, and it looks like he's going to get this position going into the braking zone, assuming the BMW doesn't make a mistake. Oh, BMW really hard under braking. Ludicrous Speed just sends it through, nice and calmly, and now the BMW ends up holding up the Viper in the process coming out of the bus stop chicane. Ludicrous Speed still holds the lead, that Ford GT, but they are charging hard on him behind.
Yes, here they come. Here comes Shredder now with a buttload of speed. Gonna go to the high side right now. Ludicrous cannot do anything, but they're gonna be side by side right here. Shredder with ease takes the lead.
Prius Killer has not been able to do the same, though. He is struggling. Oh, Shredder, again, another really bad run going into turn one. And Ludicrous hits the inside wall, hits the tire barrier. He runs into Shredder in the process, and now Prius goes back to the front.
What a sequence of events here in the GT class between Prius, Larry, and Shredder. Holy!
Ford GT really struggling to stay properly on the track, but don't look now. Here come the LMP2 cars. How are they going to have a knock-on effect in this fight? Ford GT still just barely staying ahead of the BMW by virtue of having much better corner ability. Here comes Critical. What is Critical going to do to this?
Yes, Critical continuing the lead here in the P2 as he's going to go to the inside. And now he's going to try and cross over move on Ludicrous, but could not. We'll get him out of the corner as they come onto the normal track, onto the oval turn one. Critical's going to be on the high side, and with ease, it's by them before the bus stop.
Yeah, Prius Killer not really being challenged by the Ford GT right now. So it is Dodge, Ford, BMW in the GT category. And Stingray has just gotten by Arsenal, meanwhile in the DPI category. So while we've been focusing on this crazy three-way fight for the GTs, the DPIs are still going at it hard. Stingray back in front of Arsenal. These two are not letting it go right now.
Yes, Arsenal trying to... Yeah, these two Fords, well, technically a Ford and a BMW. Mark continuing the battle here for the lead in the DPs. Car length is about one and a half.
He's there. Yeah, that black Ford is right behind that white and gold BMW. Can't seem to figure out a way through the bus stop chicane that time. Arsenal faster, but so fast they end up missing the proper exit zone, and now he's kind of killed his momentum going into one. But here's the big thing to watch. Mate, look at this. Fuel right now, 17% for our top two in the DPI category. These two will have to pit sooner rather than later. Yes. So the proper entry and exit for the pits are going to have a big knock-on effect, especially because it's not huge, but it is enough to take note of. The first pit stop box...
Stingray goes wide!
Stingray makes a big mistake, and that's going to let RZM Arsenal slip back in front. But as I was saying, when they come into the pits, the car who has pole, by default in this game, always gets the first pit box. Assuming you don't go so fast that you miss it, first pit box is faster coming in and going out than any other box. So your pole sitter will have a very, very, very small advantage here in pitting. Now, will it be enough to have a knock-on effect? That's a little bit hard to tell, but it is something to take note of.
Yes, but the lead remains in the hands of RZM Arsenal.
Stingray right behind Arsenal right now. So these two the Ford and BMW seem to be very well evenly matched around the field. It just seems to be a matter of who's making the fewest mistakes right now. We can expect these two to make their first of 2 pit stops anytime here.
Yes, but meanwhile, Shredder goes on the outside of Ludicrous Speed, getting back onto the GT side of things. And Shredder, no! Prius goes wide again!
And Ludicrous went exceptionally wide, and now he is behind Shredder, so Shredder is going to have to try and make that heavy big boy BMW run down the Dodge that has tried and pretty much failed to scoot away. So it's been a three-way fight in the GT category. LMP2s, they had a bit of a fight early on, but now everyone in the LMP2 category has really spread out. And then the GTs, Shredder and Ludicrous both have a really bad run through the high-speed kink there. That's exactly what Prius wants to see, but I'm going to be honest, I think Shredder has the best car and driver combo out of this trio right now. I think Prius has probably a little bit more skill overall, and Ludicrous has the better car. I think Shredder is in that perfect little in-between when it comes to getting this all set up. If Shredder can just put together 1 or 2 laps and not have any mistakes, I think he should be able to at least catch, if not overtake, that Dodge Viper.
So I'm looking over here in the P2 category. Critical continues to lead up. And the gap between Sunshine and Larry continues to be kind of even in some cases. But like I said, Critical, off of that huge overall win in Bathurst for Sunshine Racing League, wants to continue that momentum here today. And it looks like GT, the gap has between Prius and Shredder has kind of increased a little bit, but here comes Shredder.
So here's something else to take note of, though. Prius Killer is running about 12% more fuel in the tank right now. So that BMW is absolutely guzzling fuel. That means that his options when it comes to pit stops are going to be a little bit more limited than that Viper's. So Shredder is faster, but he is definitely going through fuel a lot faster. He does not have as much play when it comes to when he's going to pit. Speaking of pitting, Stingray and Arsenal have both pitted now. They have completed their first of what should be 2 stops in today's race. They come in out pit lane, and Stingray just barely holding the lead over Arsenal. As now we see 3rd and 4th in the DPI category pitting as well.
Yes, but here comes Arsenal. Stingray went a little bit wide there, but holds on to the lead.
Also, interesting little thing to take note of, at Sonoma 2 weeks ago, the way the track worked out, the LMP2s were within only about a second or two of the DPIs, and in the end, we had an LMP2 win the overall class. We said that wouldn't happen. That's definitely not going to happen because Critical, he's just blitzed by the pits, but he's still not even caught even last place in the DPI category right now. So absolutely distinct separation in pace between DPI and LMP2 this week compared to 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
All right, so Arsenal once again running in second behind Stingray. Arsenal sends it, throws that car pretty much into the bus stop chicane, and then throws it out. He closed in a bunch on Stingray because Stingray, again, seemed to be a little bit more conservative. Thing is, Arsenal catches the draft of Stingray now, and that draft for the DPis don't seem to be helping as much. Both these cars are pretty much the same. Yes, the engine that is in Stingray's machine that's been set up by BMW, but it is still the same fundamental engine. Here comes the dive bomb. Arsenal to the inside of Stingray.
Got him.
He slides in front of him, pulls off a perfect slide job, takes the air off the nose of that BMW. He's going to try and go for a wide entrance, but that lets Stingray pull up on the inside. Stingray knocks onto Arsenal, knocks Arsenal a little bit sideways, side by side for a lead. Again, one of these two are going to have to back out in this corner. Who's it going to be? It will be Stingray. Arsenal holds the lead. Stingray dives to the inside. Arsenal cuts down to block it. They're both running absolutely horrible lap times here because they're putting all their effort just trying to chop each other's momentum off and dive bombing into the corners. Arsenal maintain position ahead of Stingray at the moment. But Arsenal seems to be the weakest going into the bus stop chicane. Stingray is a little bit weaker going into the turn 1 braking zone. And they seem to be pretty much evenly matched around the rest of the circuit.
Yeah.
And now they're coming up on TFB Matter GT car.
Yes, but they are
Stingray
also
much faster.
They're also coming up on this battle between Shredder and Ludacris, but Shredder has the speed than Ludacris. Meanwhile, as you can see, Prius Killer has pulled away. Like, the gap has opened up.
That Ford GT and BMW struggling really hard under braking. Now the DPIs catch them once again. Oh, dear me!
Arsenal.
And that is... Yeah, and Stingray blitzed by as Arsenal got caught up, held up, distracted by the GTs, and that lets Stingray get by. And now, Arsenal's going to have to get by these two GTs who are still racing extremely heavily. He'll cut by them just at the last moment as Shredder gets back by Ludacris speed, but now Arsenal has lost a bunch of time to his rival in the DPI category. Oh, and Stingray, though, has made a mistake getting around Prius. Stingray went off into the grass trying to get around Prius. Now the gap cuts down to half of what it was.
Yes, Lucas Breed tried to go on the inside of, could not make it work. And
Shredder
continues.
holds on to second in the GT category for the moment with Ludacris speed in the draft, but does not seem like Shredder. Maybe I overestimated Shredder because he is not closing on that Dodge Viper. Now, granted, that BMW and Ford GT continue to absolutely slug each other, lap in, lap out. But at the moment, Shredder does not seem to be fast enough to outrun that Ford GT and properly set his sights on the Viper. Also, here's the other thing. Shredder at 30% left in the tank. Ludacris speed at 28%. So when these two pit, they're going to be pitting at pretty much the exact same time on the racetrack. So they're not in any position that they're going to start being able to get away from each other.
Yeah, pretty much.
And again, the GT category, everyone's only going to have to make one stop. Same with the LMP2s. Everyone's only going to have to stop once. But in the DPIs, everyone has already completed one stop, and they're going to make their second stop sometime soon here. Real quickly, as we watch the number 76 Viper continuing around here. We have 33 minutes left in this race at the moment. At the front, it is TMS Stingray leading RZM Arsenal as lap traffic has let Stingray gap Arsenal by just a little bit. Arsenal going to have to try really hard to figure out a way to catch back up to Stingray going forward here. Third place, Dino Prime, in the only Chevrolet still in this category, and he's basically in no man's land right now. He's just now catching the GT category. He's been more than a second off pace of the leaders in the category right now. It's just really, really not gone very well for him today.
Yeah,
He looked...
You would think the Chevys would be really good around here, but it seems like the Fords are pretty much capitalizing.
Well, you say that, but Tire Barrier is in a Ford, and he is completely in no man's land compared to Dino Prime. He's a good 8 seconds off of Dino. I mean, granted, the gap between third and fourth is a lot closer than second and third, but still, yeah, I think it's more of the fact that the top two, they are part of big-name organizations. They do these kind of endurance races. They're basically what we call sweats in this game.
Yeah.
They're going to be 1 to 2 seconds a lap faster than nearly any regular person in this series. So, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. I really don't think any of those in the GT are even... You know, like, some of them are on teams that have those sweats, you know, but you don't see someone like Score Buffalo in the race today. So they are, at least at the moment, capitalizing on the fact that Score Buffalo is not in GT. So that's why it's been so different in the battle GT. Whereas usually if Score was here, it'd be scored all the way through to the end, pretty much.
You really, really like Scored. Are you two like bedfellows or something?
No. I've just seen him race and just seen him, like, at some points it's like, once he gets the lead, he's gone.
Alright. Yeah, I'm just saying, because it seems like every single time I talk to you, whether it's in broadcast or out of broadcast, You seem to bring him up. It's like a high school crush or something, so.
No.
Alright, here's an interesting thing to take note of. DPis have begun lapping LMP2s, and by that I mean they have lapped one LMP2. That's Larry B. the G. Mr. Sunshine, not yet a lap down, but that will be a little bit interesting, being able to navigate around LMP2 cars, because LMP2s are very, very comparable to the DPis, and they are outright faster in the infield section. So,
Yeah.
So Prius Killer has made a mistake somewhere on the circuit, because Shredder has closed back in on him. So keep an eye on this, because Prius may have the lead now, but now Shredder is there and ready to capitalize. Ludacris has actually fallen off the pace a little bit of your lead group.
Yeah, here
Shredder
comes-
gets right behind Prius. Ooh, they both run wide, and the 4GT totally off circuit. Tire Barrier says thank you very much. He navigates through them without any issue. Prius Killer now has to deal with that BMW of Shredder right behind him. The number 110 goes to the outside of the 76, aborts, just falls in line behind them as they come out of that first hairpin corner. And we see that 4GT of Ludacris Speed closing in on these duo in the infield. But again, the moment they get onto the oval section, the pure speed of... Oh, and Tire Bear's had a big accident! Single car won't have too much of an impact. But now he has to overtake all these GT cars again.
Yes.
He dives on Ludacris Speed and will get by him without issue, and now he's going to put his focus on Shredder and Prius. So this could be interesting. Where Tire Barrier is in relation to Prius could have a big effect as to... Nope, it won't. Tire blitzes by them without too much issue.
Yeah,
and once again, Shredder has a good run on the Viper, but not enough to make a move. He thinks of going to the inside, then goes to the outside. Prius swerving all over to defend, and Prius botches! Prius botches the braking zone, and he has to stop all the way to let the rest of the field go. Oh, wow. And yeah, Ludacris now in play for the GT category lead once again, as the Viper swerving to block the BMW ended up causing him to lock up going into the bus stop chicane, and then Shredder had an absolutely horrible run. Now Ludacris right behind the BMW again. He's back into the fray.
Yes, oh, I hate to see it for Prius Killer right there. Damn. But at the same time, you got a little bit for Shredder, as he is now in the lead for GT.
Not for long, though. He just ran wide into the dirt, and here comes the 4GT on the outside, sitting it very aggressively. BMW, that driver is really overdriving that machine. He seems to be dipping tires into the grass anytime he can, while Ludacris Speed seems to be a lot more reserved, a lot more calm and cool with Collect when it comes to controlling that car side by side. Shredder cuts across the front. They made contact. Shredder very nearly spun himself off the front bumper of the Ford GT. He still barely holds the lead over Ludacris Speed. Now Ludacris will have the inside on the run coming into Speedway Turn 1. Shredder makes a dive bomb. Ludacris now on the outside. Contact. The Ford GT gets run a little bit wide, and the BMW sliding, trying to put the power down. Ludacris still side by side with him. They're side by side. They're still side by side. It's a drag race, but we know that BMW is going to win that drag race. He has more power. The question is, will he be able to properly execute the bus stop chicane to stay ahead of the Ford?
Yes, remember the lap before, he made a mistake that allowed the Ford to kind of get on the outside, but this time around, though, oh no, Shredder got loose.
Yep, Shredder, big trouble dropping one of the rear tires into the grass, and that kicked the rear out. Now Ludacris has the inside line, Shredder on the end. Ludacris inside line, Shredder outside line. The BMW's superior power lets him cut back down in front of Ludacris Speed, but Ludacris is absolutely hammering Shredder for a lead of this category at the moment, and here they come into the pits. Ludacris Speed comes into the pits. He does not want to have to fight with Shredder on track. He wants to pit now at the earliest possible opportunity, and I don't blame him, because if you look at the clock right now, 26.5 minutes left. Ludacris Speed pitting now. He does not have to pit again for the rest of the race. Meanwhile, Shredder and Prius Killer still will each have to pit one more time.
Yes, so at the moment, everybody can get maybe a sigh of relief a little bit.
Also, this works out well for Stingray and Arsenal because they're going to be able to overtake the GT category this time without actually having to worry about them on track. So it will be a lot more cleaner running for the top two in your DPI category. But after Arsenal's little hiccup through the grass earlier, Stingray has pretty much grabbed onto the lead of this race and is not letting it go. Arsenal really struggling to try and close in on Stingray here, and they're equal times. The problem is, if you're the same time as the person ahead of you and there's a gap, well, you're not going to close. There's just no way around it. Arsenal needs something to go wrong with Stingray right now, I think, if he wants a serious shot at taking the DPI category lead.
Yes.
Once again, we take a quick look in the LMP2 category. That is LMR Critical continuing to just walk away and dominate over everyone else. Sunshine has gone a lap down compared to the DPIs. Critical still on the same lap as your DPI category right now. There is a possibility that Critical is going to be nearly an entire lap ahead of the rest of the field. Now we see Critical coming down into pit lane now, so he will go a lap down to the DPIs here. Here comes Shredder coming into the pits. This is going to be where it gets really interesting, though. Watch Shredder as he comes into the pit lane, and where is he going to pop up in relation to the 4GT of ludicrous speed? Ludicrous coming out of Speedway Turn 4 right now, down the main straight. Shredder putting the power down in the BMW.
There's the board right there.
Yeah, Shredder had a very, very good in-lap by the looks of it. Ludicrous is still there, still hounding him, but he is about a second out from Shredder. Oh, Shredder, cold tires, kills Shredder's momentum, though. Shredder very nearly loses the BMW coming out of turn 1, and now Ludicrous speed is right back on it. So Shredder, a fantastic in-lap, means nothing. He throws the entire gap away, coming back onto the circuit, and now Ludicrous is hounding that BMW once again.
Yes, those cold tires are coming to bite Shredder in the
Well, they're not going to be cold anymore, at least, but now he has to deal with that 4GT again on the racetrack. And Ludicrous by Shredder once again. Now, here's the interesting thing in this fight. Every single time they've come down to the line, BMW outpaces the Ford when it comes to straight line speed. If they keep fighting like this, I do think Shredder has the advantage. The superior speed will let the BMW have his nose ahead of the Ford GT if they're side by side coming to the line.
Yeah, meanwhile, Prius is just pulling away.
Yeah, Prius staying out. Yeah, Prius does not have to worry about pitting for a long time still. Matter, who inherited second place in the GT category, he is now pitting. But yeah, Prius has continued to just kind of walk this fight simply because he doesn't have to worry about fuel in the same way everyone else does. He can afford to pit a lot later, and that seems to be what he's doing. He says, hey, look, I've got a rhythm. I'm happy with the rhythm of this car. I'm just going to keep going the way I am right now.
Yeah, that's a good strategy. And, you know, I'm surprised that the Viper is doing really well around here.
Excuse me. Alright. So real quickly, another bit of a randomizer here. Dino Prime 77 in third. He's pretty much locking up third place in the DPI category. There's no way around that. But he has to now deal with an LMP2 category traffic in the form of Larry B the G. And he's going to come up on Ludicrous Speed and SRD Shredder very shortly here. So he's going to be trying to overtake all these cars as fast as he can. It's kind of a gaggle. Larry B the G, easy overtake through the infield on both the Ford GT and the BMW. But now here comes Dino. He'll have more power than all three of these cars ahead. He shoots to the inside of the Ford GT. Nothing that Lucas is going to do to fight back. Shredder's not going to bother fighting back either. Now Dino Prime immediately goes for it, but this opened up a shot for Lucas to get to the inside of SRD Shredder coming into Speedway Turn 1. Now every time they're side by side and Shredder's left on the outside like that, it negates the BMW's speed advantage by a small amount. Now we see the Chevrolet DPI going to the outside and will easily overtake the LMP2 under braking. B closes right in under braking, gets right behind the DPI, but as they put the power down, Dino starts opening the gap, so he navigates the lap traffic without too much issue. But as we look at this fight between Shredder and Ludicrous Speed, Shredder still holds it for the moment. Ludicrous in the draft, but again, that Ford GT is so much slower on the oval sections of the track. He makes up all his time in the infield. He's done a fantastic job thus far, but he needs Shredder to have a really bad mistake in the infield, because right now, Shredder, every mistake he's made has not been enough to compromise him. The GT category, everyone with the exception of the Dodge leading it has made. The only stop they're going to have to make today. Oh, and Shredder really, really wide, completely bungles the braking zone in turn 1, and that's exactly what Ludicrous wants to see. They're side by side in the infield section, run down into the hairpin. Shredder has the inside line, will try and out-drag the Ford GT. He does exactly that, but botches the braking zone. Ford GT, nice, smooth exit, and the Ford GT goes back in front of the BMW now. Shredder tries to go for another lunge on the inside. Ludicrous holds the outside though, and that outside means he can get on the power a little bit faster, but Shredder has more power at his advantage. Again, side by side as they prepare to merge into Speedway Turn 1. Again, Ludicrous Speed has the inside line. Shredder really struggling to put all that excess power and torque down. And now that BMW is going to have to go around the high side to get around that Ford GT again. Now here's the big thing though, as these two continue to fight like this, lap in, lap out, they keep compromising each other's laps. I think that Dodge of Prius Killer is going to be in a good position. When he does finally decide to make his pit stop, I think all these laps in clean air are going to help him stay ahead of this duo fighting. Ooh, Shredder really sideways coming out of the bus stop chicane, and now Ludicrous Speed shoots to the inside, gets back in front of the BMW. Now we see the BMW's power start coming into play again. Again, I think the big advantage overall in this fight will go to the BMW. Just having more speed means that he should be able to out-drag that Ford GT to the start-finish line every single lap. Again, nose ahead. He is ahead of the Ford GT. Now they come into turn 1, but Shredder keeps botching infield braking zones and lets the Ford GT just pull right up alongside or outright get ahead, lap in, lap out. BMW goes to the outside, going into the hairpin corner to try and maximize exit speed. Big problem for the Ford GT is that it just does not have the speed in the infield, enough speed in the infield to actually try and outrun the BMW. So Ludicrous looks very calm, cool, and collect right now, but the more and more Shredder hounds him, the more and more likely it is that we will see Ludicrous make a mistake that will let Shredder get ahead of him and potentially gap him. But that gap right there, this is the biggest it's been between these two in the Ford's favor for basically since these two have started fighting. This is continuing to be the most active battle on the track right now. Arsenal has fallen to 4 seconds off of Stingray at this point in the event. So yeah, every other battle on track has pretty much deteriorated. Here comes Shredder, shoots to the inside of Ludicrous Speed. Ludicrous doors him just a bit, but Shredder, again, superior straight line speed is everything coming to the line, but then Shredder botches turn 1 again. The Ford GT easily goes back in front. But Shredder, I think Shredder is doing, and I've seen Kenny Barak do this when he was running kart back in the early 2000s. Yeah, go ahead, be bad around the entire rest of the track. Well, only thing that matters is being ahead at the line. I think that's what Shredder is trying to do right now. He's running through every single possible scenario to try and make sure that doesn't matter what happens, he can be ahead of the Ford GT for this position when they get to the line. Right now, the back of that Ford GT, currently second in the GT category, but we are expecting the class leader in the Dodge Viper to be paid sooner rather than later. You can see how quickly that BMW, once they get to Speedway Turn 2, immediately the speed advantage goes in favor of the BMW, closing in.
And he's coming in.
Cuts the gap down. All right, there we are. So, GT category leader pitting now.
And here comes Shredder is still
here
there.
Comes Ludacris and Shredder. And Prius still in the pits right now. This will get very interesting. Shredder going to go to the outside again. I really think that Shredder has the overall advantage in this fight. Here comes your Viper out of the pits now. I think he's going to maintain his lead over this duo potentially.
Yes, he will, and they are all close together once again. Oh, and apologies for going away, but I had to take care of something. But I am back at least.
The Viper, I think, has enough of an advantage that as long as that Ford GT and BMW keep fighting with each other, neither of them will be able to actually put pressure on that Viper. Now, granted, I think the gap's a lot closer and smaller than Prius wanted it to be, but I think it's going to work out in his favor overall.
But how much time do we have left?
According to the clock, I am looking at just a bit under 15 minutes at this point.
15 minutes. This might be a very interesting 15 minutes for the GT. Not so much for the P2s or even the DPs, because I'm pretty sure that those are going to be unanimous of who's going to win them. But
Prius really bad. Prius completely botched it going through the bus stop chicane, and so did Shredder. Ludacris has a run on both of them now. Oh, this has gotten interesting. Prius with a really bad run through the bus stop chicane. Shredder falls in line behind Ludacris' speed.
Oh, here they come. Here comes Ludacris now.
He's getting a push from Shredder.
Oh, but here comes Shredder now.
And Prius
on the outside.
Ludacris on the outside. There's 3 wide coming out of turn 1. And they make contact. And the Ford GT is sideways. And here comes the DPi tire player.
Gets loose again.
And the BMW gets turned just a bit by the Dodge. And now here comes the DPi. The DPi gets left off. There's no room for him to properly navigate. He's going to have to take a lane and go for it. He's gone now. Prius barely holding the lead, but you look at this. The BMW is right there putting mad pressure. One mistake, and all of a sudden we're back to having a 3-way fight for a lead in the GT category.
Yes, but here comes
the DPi cast leader now.
Yes, he's going to be thinking, how am I going to get by these guys while they're still freaking battling?
Well, that's how. He's going to go to the outside line.
Yeah, pretty much. Easy, light work for Stingray as he gets by these guys.
Also, credit to Stingray. It looks like he's going to be putting 4th place in his category, a lap down. So, impressive display of performance for him today.
Yes. Yes, indeed. But here comes the second in DP of Arsenal now. Arsenal's gonna just follow suit as well. We're gonna just go on the outside and make it work and just go by.
Yeah,
quickly.
the DPi class leader is caught.
Oh, but here comes Shredder! Shredder on the outside! Shredder
Shredder had a great draft. They made contact coming at the line. Prius sent it really hard, and so did the BMW. Both of them completely kill their momentum going into 1. And then again, that Ford GT sucks right up behind them. But as long as it's Viper and BMW up front, I don't think there's anything the Ford can do. Ludacris needs one of these two to have like a spin or a big slide through the grass so he can properly tackle. That Ford GT is just underpowered so much he doesn't have the ability to get by both of these two. Prius drops a tire into the grass, and now Shredder's going to try and come around the outside. Not enough. Prius dropped the car right in front of Shredder before Shredder can make the move. So that Viper is faster getting up to speed, but that BMW seems to have a better top speed. And when Shredder had the draft from that DPi of Arsenal going by, that was enough to help pull the BMW up alongside the Viper. And now here we are again as they're coming down to the bus stop chicane.
Yeah,
again, the BMW has the speed. The Viper defends the inside. Now he goes back, tries to defend the outside. And has a very bad run going into the bus stop chicane. Has a very bad run coming out of the chicane as well. But so does Shredder again. Ludicrous faster than both of the two ahead of him going through the bus stop chicane. But that means nothing because the speed advantage kind of neutralizes it all.
Yes.
Again, we do have other categories, LMP2 and DPi running, but those categories have been long decided. This is actually for the category win. Shredder gets squeezed to the outside line, side by side again, going into turn 1. This time, all 3 drivers take a very defensive braking zone, and no one's really able to get a good run against anyone else. Shredder right there behind the Viper. Where does he go? He looks to the inside. Does he make a lunge for it? Yes, he does! And he moves the Viper off the line!
Ooh, this is really good racing between these 3 in the GT class right now. Now, but Prius is trying to hold these guys off right now. But here comes Shredder going on the inside right now. But ooh, we could not make it work. All the while, Ludicrous is trying to find a way around Shredder.
Yeah, well, it's not going to work now. Ludicrous had to take a much, much wider line coming into Speedway 1, so this is Shredder's best opportunity to try and close the gap to himself and that Viper ahead. As I look at the clock once more, less than 10 minutes left. We're at 9 minutes and 16 seconds at the moment. Shredder looks to the outside of Prius Killer. But Shredder kind of killed all of his momentum trying to make that move, and it was a very low... It was a low risk, but also low reward move, and now Shredder back behind the Viper. Here he is. He's setting up to make a run on him, going into Speedway turn... I mean, not Speedway turn 1, but regular turn 1. He turns him! He turns him!
No,
he turned him, and somehow the Viper kept it together. He turned him, but Prius keeps it together. Shredder goes to the lead of the category, but he turned him right out of it. An amazing job by Prius to keep the car straight and not turn right into the outside wall at 180 miles an hour.
Here comes Prius, though. Prius is not done. He wants payback now. He is... Oh, Shredder goes wide. Here comes Prius on the inside.
And here comes LMR Critical, leader of the DPi category as well. He's going to try and navigate around the GTs as fast. Yeah, P2, sorry. Yeah, Critical in the P2 category, about to try and blitz his way through this trio as fast as he can, but there's really no room for him.
Where is that?
All right, take that back.
It work. He does make it work. And oh, he gets...
Oh, Prius! Prius runs Shredder off the circuit. There's 3 wide for the... 3 wide for the GT lead once again. Ludicrous is sandwiched in the middle.
Man, that was some
And Shredder
payback.
has the advantage. Shredder gets the lead, but Prius has the draft off of him. Going into the bus stop chicane again. Prius not going to try and make a move under braking here. Oh, the BMW really sideways out of the chicane. Here comes Prius to the inside of the BMW. Ludicrous Speed is in the draft of both of them, but again, he needs one of these two to have an accident at this point for him to seriously contend. He just does not have the speed to hold off both of these two anytime he does get in front of them. Oh, he turned him! He turned him! He dumped him! He dumped him into the grass! No, into the pit lane, and Shredder gets dumped by Prius, and that will put Ludicrous Speed.
You knew that was gonna come because of what Shredder did.
Oh my, and now Ludicrous Speed is the leader in the category. I was saying that he needed one of those two to have an accident. I didn't mean that I wanted to see an accident. I said Ludicrous, not me. I didn't want to see that. Prius, that was really, really rough and dirty. I know Shredder nearly turned you earlier, but you didn't have to outright dump him like that.
Yeah, that's his way of saying that's what you give trying to wreck me earlier.
Well, now Ludacris is leading in the GT category. Now, we know that when it comes to BMW versus the Ford is down on power enough that the BMW had his nose ahead of the Ford every time they got to the line. Is it going to be the same scenario between the Ford and the Viper?
It probably will.
Less than 6 minutes left.
That's about at least 2 or 3 laps remaining. We might either be 3 or 2 laps to go on a counter.
I don't think Prius is quite as fast as the BMW. It's going to be close. Let's see who's got their nose ahead at the line. Because the Viper is closing with speed, but it does not seem to be quite as much as it was.
Yes, here comes Prius with a ton of speed.
It wasn't enough that time. The Ford GT leading coming into turn 1 that time by. Real quickly, as this fight for GT continues, one more time I want to run through your other categories. In the DPI class, Stingray has opened up the biggest gap thus far today, absolutely blitzing in that Ford/BMW engine. RZM Arsenal, second in the Ford, is fallen gradually off pace with him. Third place is Dino Prime 77, still continuing to be hanging out in no man's land. Fourth place is Tire Barrier, last in the DPI category, a lap down compared to that leaders. In the LMP2 class, Critical fought spiritedly with Sunshine early on in the race, but then once he took the lead, he's basically walked off. No one else has touched him all day today. Sixth place, second in LMP2 category, is Mr. Sunshine. He's actually starting to close on this GT battle. Larry B. the G is third and last in the LMP2 category, kind of by himself right now. Then we go and turn our focus to the GT category, and as Ludicrous Speed trying to hold off Prius Killer. Third place in the GT category is now Matter. Shredder, that spin into the pits has dropped him to 11th, dead last of everyone still running in the GT category.
Yes, and to recap with that incident with Shredder, that all started here a lap before with Shredder getting into and almost spinning/taking out Prius. But then Prius returned the favor and he dumped him all the way into the pits.
Oh, Sunshine went off into the grass trying to overtake the DPI, the GTs. So in the P2 category, Sunshine's struggling a lot more today.
Prius had a good send into there and he got right near the bumper of Ludacris.
Yeah, that Viper is less... That Viper is a little bit less powerful in the straights compared to the BMW, but he makes it up by being a little bit better in the infield than the BMW was. So Ludacris' advantage in the infield is significantly reduced against the Viper right now.
Yes. And we could see a lead change here between these two. Oh, by the way, last place in DP had the best lap. Somehow.
I don't know if that's clean or not, but that's very interesting.
But here
comes Prius. Can't make it work. Here comes the DPI and LMP2 cars coming up to this fight again. Stingray has to get by Larry B. the G. They're going to be 3 wide for the moment. Prius is going to try and get a draft off of Larry B. the G to help him. Just didn't work out quite as well as he wanted it to. But they were 3 wide for a brief moment there. First in DPI, last in LMP2, and then second in GT. And that's kind of nerfed Prius's run on the Ford GT this time. We know he's faster, and Prius, without a doubt, is faster in the infield. But the counterpoint to that is that...
Oh, and here comes Ludacris goes wide a little bit there.
Ooh, that might have been it. That might be all that Prius needs. If he can get ahead of the Ford GT, I think he'll have it for good.
On the inside.
Makes contact.
Oh, and he gets loose.
Hurt the Viper a lot more than it hurt the Ford. Here comes Arsenal now. Second in the DPI category, and he'll easily go by. Oh, he gets caught between the two of them for a moment. Now holds up Prius as well in the process. The faster car is actually working for the moment in Ludicrous Speed's favor. Gap opens up despite Ludicrous making a mistake. Race should be over very shortly here. 43 seconds left. So when the leaders of the DPI category hits the line, that will be the white flag. 1 lap to go. Ludicrous Speed. Hard fought, but he's needed a little bit of luck and bad blood between his rivals. Oh, and he's made a mistake in the bus stop! Big mistake by Ludicrous Speed. Here comes Prius with a huge head of steam. Ludicrous Speed just thrown away a win in his class.
Or maybe not. Here comes Prius now.
Yeah, this is it. Ludicrous threw it away. Prius is coming. This is going to be it. Prius is going to get the category lead, I think. The time is nearly up. Time's up in the category. Prius barely ahead of Ludicrous Speed. Ludicrous sends it in, neck and neck for the GT class lead. Ludicrous barely pulls out ahead of Prius, but Ludicrous cannot afford to make a mistake like that again.
Yes, we're gonna be on. This is literally the last lap for everybody here. Can Ludicrous hold on?
LMR Critical is going to come across the line. He'll be the first of the 3 categories to finish his race. The leader of the DPI class is coming in at Speedway 3 right now. The main focus is this here, Ludicrous Speed versus Prius Killer.
The gap
and
has
right now,
opened up.
Yeah, this is the biggest it's been all day. As long as Ludicrous does not make a mistake under braking, he should have this victory. He has 1 more braking zone left for Ludicrous. Ooh, Prius went really hard and ended up just throwing away even more time, so that's it. So, Stingray has taken home the victory in the DPI category. But this has been where the fight has been most of the day. Ludicrous Speed has been fighting with Shredder and Prius Killer in a 3-way menage a trois for a lead, but in the end, the down on power Ford GT will take home a win at Daytona, and that will bring us to the end of our race here. Oh! Prius just smacks the Ford GT after the line, but outstanding job. Going to try real quickly and talk with our winners for each class and hear what they have to say. Yep. But that was a fantastic fight in GT. A little bit more of a blowout in the other categories. All right, and coming into the party right now is your winner in the DPI category, TMS Stingray. Stingray, go ahead, include your audio. You got pole position. You had a long-spirited fight for the lead, but in the end, you made fewer mistakes, and that let you open up the lead enough to win. Walk us through the race from your perspective. What was that like out there?
Oh, it was such a fun race. So fun. The first half was it was so tense. Just swapping positions here, there, and everywhere. It was incredible. And traffic played a massive part, I think, in the end. But I was a bit uncomfortable with the car at the start. But I started to get a bit more comfortable with it, a bit more consistent. I think that led to the gap being opened out as well, and the win. So yeah, very happy with that. It's very successful race for me.
All right, so absolutely outstanding run here. Now the question is, in about 2 weeks' time will be the points paying race here at Daytona. That will be at night, so the car's going to handle a little bit differently. You're going to have to make more stops because the race is going to be even longer. do you think you can still pull off the same result then as you did today?
Yeah, I'm 100% confident I can.
All right, that's some bold confidence, but we like to hear that. Great job on your win, on not only the overall win, but also the category win and winning the second race of the preseason. Now we want to go ahead and talk to our GT category winner, Ludicrous Speed. Ludicrous, I'm going to be honest, in that three-way fight between you, SRD Shredder, and Prius Killer, you seem to be the underdog, but in the end, you turned that Ford GT into a underbird, if you get what I mean, and took home the victory. Congratulations, but what was that like out there?
Terrifying. Absolutely fucking terrifying. Because it was weird because, like, you know, you had to take every hole you had out there to get to the front, but in the Ford, it's a little different because, you know, if you try to punch for a hole coming onto a straightaway, you are going to lose that spot and make it very awkward leading into the next corner. So effectively, it just became a patient waiting game. Unfortunate that Shredder got spun out by Prius Killer. I'm assuming there was no bad blood for that spin. It must have just been over aggressiveness on both parties, but it definitely made my job a ton easier. And from there, I just had one guy to beat, and I knew I could, you know, I had the braking and the cornering advantage overall, so it was just pray that he gave me a hole and then just take it.
Okay, well, that comes into the other question I now have to ask you, though. We've talked before. You don't feel confident when it comes to what the Ford GT can do here around Daytona under normal circumstances, but you walked out here with the win. Do you think this spells well for you for another championship bid in the GT category?
I hope so. I'm also driving right now. I think the entire field is attempting to kill me right now in celebration. I hope so. I mean, we got a lot of new competition this year. That same Ferrari that I beat last year got a new driver in Rockmaro. He's running the same tune as Sunshine did, so he's definitely much tougher to beat. Got a lot of new names, so I mean, we'll see. It was a great finish today. I don't think I'll be able to replicate it 2 weeks from now, when we do this for real, because we should have a lot more people showing up, but
Yep.
We'll see.
All right, well, once again, congratulations on that victory, mate. Good job. And now, one more pair of interviews. SRD Shredder, Prius Killer. Big incident. One lap, Shredder comes by and very nearly dumps Prius into the outside wall in the middle of a straightaway. Then a lap later, Prius Killer does dump Shredder into the pits on the exact same part of the track. Intentional, bad blood, just bad luck. What happened out there?
I was trying to side draft it by hitting him, and it went bad.
Shredder, anything?
Well, what you said is, I wasn't attempting to. I've set this car up way too sketchy.
Yeah, but did you? We'll say about that. Did you expect the reaction, the retaliation that you would get the next lap?
No, not really. So just
I mean, we
happened.
even heard Prius say it wasn't really retaliation. They were just really aggressive with side drafting.
Yeah, it just happened, and that's about it.
I wasn't expecting his car to spin when I touched him.
What it
All
did,
right, so now the question then in that case is, you two seem to be the dominant ones in your category. In the event that, you know, it's the same scenario, you two going at in the race itself that plays points, who do you think would actually win between the two of you then?
For Daytona, it's probably going to be Shredder, because his car's actually meant for straight lines.
Yeah.
Alright, well, I appreciate the honesty at least. Anything else anyone wants to say before we wrap up our broadcast here?
Nah, not really.
Alright, well, in that case, I do want to congratulate all three of our category winners. Sadly, in the LMP2 category, your winner there, that he is not able to come in and do broadcasting. Critical does not, well, do interviews because Critical does not have a working mic. Yeah, he said he'll try and get one maybe in the next 2 weeks. Hopefully that works out for him. But regardless, great job and great drive for you, Critical. And again, Ludicrous Speed, great drive coming down to the end there. Same thing for you, Stingray. Great job on the victory there. But I've been your host for today's broadcast, Insanely Leader 13. I've been joined by Dramora here. And in 2 weeks' time, IESC will return with another multi-class race for the actual points-paying event. The races will be longer by another half hour, and we can get some really interesting stuff going on with a potentially larger field. Until that time, though, farewell, and